What's going on, Jerome's? So 53-man rooster cuts are a couple weeks away, and the second preseason game is going down tomorrow, Saturday night, at historic US Bank Stadium against the stupid Indianapolis Colts. And we wanted to go through, our guy Will Ragatz at Sports Illustrated just put out his 2.0 version of the Vikings 53-man rooster projection, as well as practice squad. And I was like the insiders. I was like the beat writers because they're on the ground. They get to see practice with their own eyes. They get to develop sources with players and coaches and get a little bit more insight than just some random jabronis like me. And there's a couple of really interesting moves here, so we want to walk through and let's talk about it. So quarterbacks, Vikings had generally kept 2 on the 53, but I think this year circumstances will dictate that they'll carry 3. And Will agrees here. So Cousins, Kellen Mond, Jake Browning. I think that is way too close to call between Mond and Browning at this stage to let either one of them go. I do think Browning could potentially get poached if they try to get him onto the practice squad. So there you go. Plus, what's interesting, Nate Stanley, not so much. And Danny Etling, the kind of a journeyman because he came in as a 7th-round pick. Is either 6th or 7th-round pick with the Patriots. Got to watch out with the Patriots with 6th-round picks. Actually, I think Etling was a 7th-round pick. I should know this. Anyway, but yeah, Etling has bounced around. And also, remember, Seattle got rid of Danny Etling because they're like, we got to get into the Sean Mannion business, which is just great. But he hangs out with the practice squad. He's a pretty solid athlete. He's sort of whatever as a quarterback, but I do like him better than Nate Stanley. And then, let's see, running backs-wise. So A.J. Rose makes it onto the practice squad. He missed in version 1.0, putting up 100 yards against the Broncos. We'll do that. And it was almost by accident because, remember, Kene Nwangu tweaked up his knee. It's just, can't use that word. It's like Macbeth or Voldemort. Oops. But he hyperextended his knee. He reportedly is going to be good to go for the season. But that was on the first play. And Kene Nwangu, that was supposed to be his game against the Broncos. But A.J. Rose got 1 billion carries. He got 25 carries because he got exactly 100 yards. He had 4 yards a carry. But, yeah, he makes a practice squad. Jake Vargas, who I'm sort of whatever on, but remember, there's 16 players on the practice squad this year yet again, but Dalvin Madison's CJ, the fullback, Kenny, and Amir Abdullah, I think that is going to be what goes down. I'm really good at words today. That was just a word salad. Wide receivers, so they go down from 6 to 5. Jefferson, Thielen, KJ. He has KJ cemented as a lock on the roster. I think that's pretty fair. ISM as well as DD Westbrook. I think that could be your 5. Chad Beebe hanging around on the practice squad because remember, the coaching staff likes Chad Beebe, but they're not fully enamored with him a la Gary Kubiak. And remember, Chad Beebe was a restricted free agent, but they passed. They passed on tendering him at an extremely low offer. They brought him back on a very small league minimum, nothing guaranteed deal. So I think that said a lot. And he hasn't really flexed. He hasn't really stepped up and become the wide receiver 3-4. So I think practice squad might be BB ceiling at this point. Dan Chisena, the special teamer. And remember, you can call up 2 players per week and have the 55-man roster, even though it's not really 55. It's more 48. No, it's 47 because 46 and a quarter, whatever. But you can have 2 guys up from the practice squad on the game day roster. I think Dan Chisena as a punt gunner. He's got a lot of physical tools. He still has to work on the finer points of special teams coverage, but whatever. Cut Myron Mitchell, Warren Jackson, and no, my guy Watt Filior. Even though Filior may have peaked a little bit too early in OTAs and training camp, and we'll see. I still have high hopes for the Pride of Indiana. He Hoosier, what up? Tight ends. So Shane goes from the practice squad to being out, but you got Irv Gronklin, Brandon Dillon as your 3 tight ends on the roster, as well as you got Zach Davidson, the rookie from Central Mizzou, on the practice squad. Offensive line, you're keeping 9. You got Brian O'Neill, Ezra Cleveland, Garrett Bradbury, Oli Udoh, that's right, starting at right guard, maybe even left tackle. Who really knows? Rashad Hill is probably going to be your starting left tackle to start the season, but maybe it's Wyatt Davis no matter what. Maybe he gets on the field because Clint Kubiak's been talking about, maybe Oli starts at left tackle and maybe Wyatt Davis gets in at guard. He's got to be ready. Mason Cole, the swing interior backup. Blake Brandel makes the roster. Zimmer's been very highly talking about him as the swing backup. Christian Darrisaw, hopefully he heals up. Maybe he starts the season on IR. Who really knows? And then also you do have on the practice squad Zach Bailey, the former South Carolina Gamecock, who's really stepped up this year. Drew Samia just hanging around. But you know what? If you have to keep Drew Samia, but you get rid of Dakota Dozier, I'm okay. But what really sucks is my guy, Kyle Hinton. I mean, can we just have Kyle Hinton over Drew Samia one time? Just one time. Because it's so hard to say goodbye. Kyle Hinton, and also Kazarzik. So he had Kazarzek on the practice squad earlier, and then not so much. Not so much. Defensively, so you're keeping 10, which is a lot of defensive linemen. But Daniil, so you got Daniil, Weatherly, DJ, Patrick Jones, as well as Janaris Robinson on the edge. James Lynch makes the roster, even though he has an ankle injury. We'll see what happens there. But you got Diesel Dalvin, you got Michael Pierce, you got Richardson, as well as you got Armand for Watts and James Lynch. So going 5 for 5. 5 and 5, on edge, as well as defensive interior guys. Practice squad, Johnny Tryhard, Kenny Willekes makes it, as well as Hercules Mataafa. Cut Jalen Holmes, a veteran former fourth round pick, fourth year guy from the Ohio State University, not so much. Jordan Scott and Zade Johnson. So Twyman on NFI, Brailford's already been cut, so there you go. Linebackers. So Anthony Barr's been away from the team. Hopefully he's going to be good to go for the season. You got Kendricks, of course, Nick Candlelight Vigil, the veteran, Chad Surratt, Blake Lynch, Troy Dye, last year's fourth-round pick, who actually got a lot of run last year, started a handful of games, makes the practice squad. You got Ryan Connolly, the former Eden Prairie standout and Stupid Badger. They got Christian Ellis coming out of Idaho. Go Vandals. He makes the practice squad as well. Carrying 3 linebackers on the practice squad while you carry 5. It's a little heavy, but yeah, whatever at this point. Tough Borland gets cut. I just don't think he has the physical tools to make it in the league, as well as you got Cameron Smith retiring, so there you go. Safeties, let's do cornerbacks first. Cornerbacks are keeping 6. I think that's what's going to go down. You got Peterson, Breland, and Mackenzie Alexander, the veterans, who I actually think are going to start. I don't know what the hell is going on with Cameron Tiny Dancer, but it's not good. And then you got Harrison Hand and Chris Boyd. 2 guys have been impressing as the 5th and 6th cornerbacks, respectively. Practice squad, got Dylan Mabin, the pride of Fordham. I could do without Dylan Mabin, but we'll see. And then also the veteran Perry Nickerson makes a practice squad. Ty Smith, not so much. And then you got the safeties. You got Harrison Smith and Xavier Woods. Cameron Bynum, Josh Metellus really got to step it up. Same thing with Miles Dorn because they did not show very well in the first preseason game. It's whatever. So Miles Dorn doesn't make it. Kind of surprising that Luther Kirk does not make it, because I thought that Luther Kirk has had himself a good training camp, but I think that it is a pretty near-rung thing. I think that Bynum will get an advantage because he is this year's draft pick. But Metellus, Miles Dorn, Luther Kirk, I don't know, toss up a 3-sided coin. We'll see what happens. Specialists, so you got Joseph, Skolquet, and DePaula, because they're the only 3 specialists on the roster right now. I do expect the Vikings to potentially bring in a veteran punter or at least some competition. They did work out Max Duffy out of Kentucky this week, so we'll see. I don't think that it's a given that Britton Skolquet is going to be your week 1 punter. Even if he makes it through the 53 initial cuts, I think they could look around the league and see who gets freed up and potentially bring in a replacement punter to start the season. So summing up the practice squad, you got Etling, Rose, Vargas. You got 2 wide receivers, BB and Chisena. You got 1 tight end, Zach Davidson. 2 offensive linemen, Samia and Bailey, which no Kyle Hinton, no Kazarzek. Bruh. Mataafa. You got Kenny Willekes on the edge. You got 3 linebackers, which is surprising. Troy Dye, Ellis, Connolly, as well as Miles Dorn, Mabin, and Perry Nickerson. And then on the IR, you got Riley Patterson. We'll see. I think that he could come off after 3 weeks and then potentially be placed on the practice squad. And then you got Blake Prohl and BC Johnson, both tore ACLs, and Jalen Twyman on NFI. Now, Twyman could come back week 8. I don't expect it. I think they're going to give him a full season to heal up. But that's it. Let's take a look at our guy Will Ragatz' 53-man roster and practice squad projection for Sports Illustrated. What are your thoughts on our thoughts, on his thoughts? Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work, post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.